side of the heart,
They
right?
don't want to be.
This is the anterior side of the heart. This can be found in your book from page 660, and we will be covering through page 667. So this is the posterior side of the heart. If you cut all this stuff off, this is the base of the heart, which is on the top, the superior portion. Down here is the apex of the heart. That'll be important later when we talk about the blood supply. These big fluffy things, that's a highly technical term, by the way, are called auricles. This is your left auricle, this is your right auricle, and they cover the atria. Here we have the right atrium, and under here we have the left atrium. When we remove this, we can see inside, we can see our ventricles. We have our right ventricle, and we have our left ventricle. Let's go ahead and cover the great vessels really quick, allowing the blood to come in. So everyone likes to start with blood coming into the heart. We have our vena cava, superior, inferior. Those are two great vessels. Great vessel number 3. We have our posterior trunk. Great vessel number 4. We have our aorta. And then we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, our pulmonary veins, which take blood into the heart. Those are our 8 great muscles. So superior, inferior vena cava, aorta, pulmonary trunk, which later becomes a pulmonary artery, that only counts as 1. And we have our 1, 2, 3, 4 pulmonary veins. Opening the heart, again, we have our right and left ventricles. Now inside, we have these little wobbly things here. These are going to be called our trabeculae carnae. Down below, we're going to have our septomarginal trabeculae. These little cord structures are your chordae tendineae, and they connect to your valves. The chordae tendineae are connected to these projections, the papillary muscles. In the right heart, we have 3. In the left heart, we have 2. That'll become important here in a moment. Okay. So going through the valves, this will be on page 664. We have our right atrial ventricular valve. This is called our tricuspid valve. We have our pulmonary semilunar valve. Then we have our left atrioventricular valve, also our bicuspid valve. There are 2 of them. Remember our 3 muscles here, tricuspid valve, there are 3. 2. Mitral valve, there are 2 papillary muscles. It's also called the mitral valve. Mitral valve, the bicuspid valve, the left atrioventricular valve, and then deep inside we have our aortic semilunar valve in here. Alright, so tracing a drop of blood through the body.
Or should we do the endocardium, myocardium?
Let's go ahead and hit those first really quick. Absolutely. Alright, turning back to page 662. So here is our interventricular septum. Septum is something that separates. Alright, starting from the outside. I'm taking my time here because I do not want
These
to
are
give
called
any...
trabeculae carnae, all these little grooves, right?
On the outside, these are trabeculae carnae.
Is it only on an interventricular septum? next to
It's
it?
all throughout the heart.
So these right here are also trabeculae carnae.
That is true.
Okay, good.
Okay, why are you not showing? I thought I had a better grasp of my book here, but I sadly do not.
I wonder if Khan Academy has
Here we
anything
go.
like that. Oh, okay.
This is on page 659. Okay, so on the pericardium, we have our fibrous pericardium. Inside we have the parietal layer of the serous pericardium. And in between the two we have our pericardial cavity. Okay, that'll be in this space here. Now we get to this yellow portion. We're on our heart wall, these next 3 layers. This is the visceral layer of the serous pericardium, which is known as the epicardium. This muscular portion, which is thicker in the left heart because it pumps blood throughout the whole body. The right heart pumps blood only to the lungs, so we need more muscle here to pump it throughout the body. This is our myocardium. Myo means muscle, cardium means structure of the heart. And inside, lining here, we have our endocardium, following along here. Alright, so again, our heart wall, we have visceral layer of the serous pericardium, which is also known as the epicardium. We have the myocardium, and then we have the endocardium. Okay, so tracing a drop of blood through the heart, or through the body rather, comes in through the body, through superior and inferior vena cava. It's in the right atrium. It goes to the tricuspid valve, to the right ventricle, it goes to the pulmonary semilunar valve, to our pulmonary trunk, to our pulmonary pulmonary arteries, it goes to the lungs, returns to the pulmonary veins, inside to our left atrium, through our mitral valve, to our left ventricle, to our aortic semilunar valve, to the aorta, the aortic arch, and here we have our brachiocephalic branch, we have our left common carotid branch, and we have our left subclavian branch, and this becomes our descending aorta. This white structure is the ligamentum arteriosum, which connects the aorta to the pulmonary branch here. Now, blood supply to the heart, how the heart feeds itself. This is on page 667. They're called the coronal arteries. Coronal does not mean heart, it means crown. Looking here in our book, since the apex of the heart is on the bottom, you turn it upside down, it looks like a Caesar crown, a laurel leaf crown, when viewed from the base to the apex. So that's why they're called the coronal arteries and veins. So coming off of the aorta, just after passing through the aortic semilunar valve, we have two arteries coming off. We have our right coronary artery. It comes around, and we have the right marginal artery, which is on the side here. On the back, the posterior side, we have the posterior interventricular artery here, feeding the heart. Going back to the beginning, we have our aorta. We have our left coronary artery. Coming down the front, we have our anterior interventricular artery. And then going off on this other branch here, we have our circumflex artery, which flexes in a circle around. When blood comes back into the heart, after it feeds the heart, it comes straight back in to go back and get more oxygen. We have three main veins. Our great cardiac vein is actually, this one. These branches, for our purposes, are not named. These are just part of the great cardiac vein. We have our middle cardiac vein, which runs along with our posterior interventricular artery. These are middle because he's the next biggest. And then following along with our marginal artery, we have our small coronary vein. Small cardiac vein. And these three meet to make the coronary sinus, which feeds back into the heart to continue the blood supply.
Okay. And that's it, right?
Yeah.